Hey everybody, welcome back to the Combat Chain. I'm your host, Patrick Shaw. With me, as always, is Adam Philipchuk. Adam, how are you doing today?
Hey Pat, I'm doing great. Happy to be here. Happy to be back again after another little pause. Yeah, super excited to be back.
Yeah, it's good to be back. Yeah, we've been busy bees. We've been busy qualifying for our respective nationals. We've been busy testing for upcoming Pro Tours and said national events. And I've been on a tear here, making some Blitz gameplay videos, and just recently while editing said videos, got the emergency call up to the Fresh and Buds podcast, where I got to co-host with Tommy Fresh on his 1-year anniversary of podcasting on Fresh and Buds. So we just wanted to say congratulations, Tommy Fresh. Yay, celebration. But yeah, 52 episodes. I was happy to be a part of that. Love the Buds, love Tommy, so I was very happy to be a part of that. But yeah, it's been a minute, but we're back at it. We're looking to kind of solidify what we're doing here moving forward, right? We're gonna try to be making this a little more regular than it has been, kind of recommitting to the podcast and putting it out, and making sure the quality product is what we want it to be.
Yeah, I think we're aiming for release every Thursday. Is that what we were saying?
I think so. We're targeting Thursday releases for the pod. So, pay attention. Those who are listening to the Combat Chain, Thursdays are going to be our targeted release date for our weekly episodes. But yeah, there's a lot going on. But Adam, you are a couple weeks out now from Pro Tour Lille. How is getting ready for the Pro Tour? How is it? How is it happening? How are you doing?
I'm not gonna lie, Pat. It's a little stressful.
How about beyond just the cards? How is getting there and like getting to that part of the world? How's that working out?
I mean, that part's all good and kosher. We're booked. We're passports in order. We're ready to go. It's just a matter of whether I can get my poop in a group and figure out what I'm gonna play.
Let's walk that back 1 second. Poop in a group. Is that what just came out of your mouth?
You heard me. Yes.
Excellent. All right, I'm gonna write that one down. I have never heard that expression before. So, what does the it's a good one. I've never heard that. So, Adam, we know that the Pro Tour Lille is happening the 26th to the 28th. When are you coming to France?
We are flying out. So we fly out on the 23rd. Technically land in France the morning of the 24th in Paris.
Now, I'm sure that there is that does leave us a little time for some sightseeing and some contemplation and some last minute prep. But we do know that the structure of this Pro Tour is going to be 3 rounds starting on Friday, with 3 rounds of Uprising Draft, followed by 4 rounds of Classic Constructed, with the cut to day 2 being X4 or better. Now, how has your drafting been in Uprising Draft?
It's been not bad. I mean, I got the RTN win on draft there. So, some things seem to be going right for me. I've been trying to get in as many drafts as I can, just to have a good feel for the set and have a good feel for what the right signals are for each hero. and kind of like just have a good strategy for that draft.
Now, at this point, do you feel like are you comfortable enough with one hero to potentially force it in a draft, or do you feel like you are well versed in all three enough to just kind of take what the picks give you and feel confident about your chances in any given draft?
I'm very much of the stance of draft my seat. I'm gonna go with whatever the cards give me. Whatever's in the cards. There we go. Yeah, I have no problem ending up on either hero. My fear is just having the right support for that hero.
Now, is there a card in any of these classes that are like you would love to have 5 of if they come your way?
Ooh, I mean, yeah, there's definitely for each hero some of those. Trying to think of a.
And I guess you can't go wrong with like a red, like 5 red Ronin renegades.
Yeah, I mean, like 5, it's easy, but
yeah. But yeah, so like on Dramai, like is there like Rake the Embers? Like, do you want 5 of those, or do you want like 2 of those only? Because they do, like, there's a ceiling there with your ashes.
I mean, it depends on how much other ash generation you have in the deck. Like sweeping blow, for example. I'll take as many of those as I can get. Guy is, because it's like, it's such a simple, the red is pitch or pay 1, come in for 3, make an ash go again. Turns on your dragons, gives you ash. Like it's not a phantasm card. Like it just does everything that Dromai needs. Icelander, on the other hand, I mean, I do like the Aether Ice Veins. Whether I'll go all in on like wanting 3+ of any of them is tough to say because it's expensive. Maybe the blue one, I'll take a few copies of it because I can, if I draw into a bunch of them, I can pitch it, but it doesn't fuse, and it doesn't trigger the frostbite effect on Icelander. So it's when it's good, it's really good. I feel like Ice Eternal's one I would take a few copies of.
Yeah, that seems like a good one.
Yeah,
I know. There's like a few. Icelander seems like it's super particular too.
Yeah,
like if you had like a blue is Aether Ice Vein, like a blue Aether Ice Vein. Is that something you'd be like, yeah?
It's not like a pack 1 pick 1 love it.
What is your ideal pack 1 pick 1?
Sash
if you had Sash.
Yeah.
And that would just put you right into either Dromai or Phi, or do you have is that slotted specifically for like one or the other for you?
No, I'll take Sash in either Phi or Dromai. And the catch with pack 1 pick 1 is just because you got that card doesn't mean that that's going to be your seat. You could pack 1 pick 1 snap pick a Sash Sandakai and end up in Icelander. And you have to be okay with that with the first 5-6 picks of your draft.
Sure.
But despite that, Sash is just so powerful, and it's going to be such a hard card to get late in the draft, and you're more likely to end up in Draconic than anything else. So Sash is just a powerhouse of a card. It's Draconic Tunic.
So you have to get 3/4 or better going into day 2, which means there's plenty of room here. You get 3 rounds of draft, and then you have 4 rounds of Classic Constructed. So do you think your odds are better of going 3-0 in draft or 4-0 in CC?
I'm definitely going to try to go 3-0 on the draft side. That's where I'm pushing.
Ooh, how do you feel about CC right now?
Not good.
Do you think that the meta itself is healthy and the picks are just difficult because there's no more there's no 90-10 winner matchup that is also good against the field, or is it something else?
Yeah, I do think from what I've seen so far, it's a fairly balanced field. Is Prism gatekeeping things to some extent? Yes. But some of that I think is necessary. Like you phase out Prism at this current point in the meta, I think Bravo becomes hard contestant for best deck. And that maybe becomes like alarmingly so. At least right now with Prism in there, like it gives other decks, it stifles some decks, but your Wizards and things like that, it's a harder match for them. Warrior has a harder match, but it allows things to not go rampant.
Do you think it would be Guardians in general, or do you think Bravo overtakes Oldhim as like best Guardian in the format?
I think it's more likely to see Bravo on top. I think to some extent, just fatigue's not fun to play. So and that's what Oldhim does at his best, is fatigue. That's what he's built for. He's built to be an iron wall. So I think for the most part, yeah, you do see Bravo as top of the Guardian metagame.
So you have just over 1 week out before you travel. Ooh, that's kind of it's the 16th.
Coming up fast.
Yeah, we're recording on the 16th. So you said you're leaving on the 23rd?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, so exactly 1 week from tonight, you'll be on a plane.
Yeah.
Am I correct?
Yeah, this time next week I'm on a plane, I think, like on my way to France from Toronto.
So you have there's 7 rounds Friday. Tell me, visualize here. What do you got after day 1? Where are you at?
Oh, that's I'm gonna be honest. I don't have delusions of grandeur. I don't think I'm. The prep I have right now, I don't feel like I'm a top 8 contender by any means. My part of my goal going into Pro Tour is I like a day 2 for me would mean the world, especially coming out of Jersey where we didn't do so hot. Just to like stay composed, keep my head in the game, and qualify for day 2, that would be pretty sweet.
Do you think starting draft would help alleviate some of those potentially tilting moments?
I hope so.
Are you considering yourself a limited guy right now or constructed guy?
Very much on the limited side. I just feel more confident there.
Yeah.
And I always have in Flesh and Blood felt more confident in limited. I know some people say it's harder than Magic Draft. I think some of the concepts just come a little bit easier to me in Flesh and Blood Draft. We'll see there where if it does pay off. I know like last year at Canadian Nationals, it was the day 2 was a rough day, but day 1 it was kind of draft that carried me through into day 2.
Mm-hmm. So do you see something similar happening? What is your record at the end of day 1?
I mean, if I'm 4-3, I'm doing really well, I think.
Fair enough. That puts you into day 2.
Yeah.
Where you have another 3 rounds of draft and 4 rounds of classic constructed. What do you think? Let's say you've made it to day 2. What do you think that looks like at that point? What is the second day draft feel like?
I think the second day draft feels definitely a little sweatier, but
especially if you get to know some of the people you're bumping elbows with.
Yeah, very much so. Typically the later drafts are a little tighter. I find in an event, though. With that being said, like being that Pro Tour is already supposed to be the best of the best to begin with, even the day 1 draft is probably going to be pretty tight. So do I really expect like day 2 draft to be all that different from day 1? Probably not. Maybe a little bit of a tighter experience, but for the most part, I think just throughout the entire event, I think it's going to be tight compete level or high compete level, tight play, tight drafts, tight everything. Like it's not going to be an easy event.
Mm-hmm. Now they say when the pressure is up on limited and you get to these high tier events, whether it's callings, nationals, or pro tours, that sometimes when you're drafting you can kind of if the pressure comes, people tend to stop thinking so much and go to muscle memory, and they tend to start drafting what they know. If this situation arose where you felt like you had to zone out and just go muscle memory and draft what you know, what are you picking right now in terms of heroes? Where would you lean where you're most comfortable with your basis instinct of uprising flesh and blood right now?
My easy answer to this question, though, that I don't know if this is the safe question, but like for me, once again, it comes back to drafting my seat. Like I am going to be most confident on a deck that I think can perform well. And if I feel like my draft's hot garbage, I'm just going to be tilted going into even match 1. So that's where I think ideally for me, muscle memory is reading signals and drafting according to, whatever seat is
I
open.
like it. Your instinct is to draft the best deck. That's fair. It's a fair answer.
Yeah. And that, but I should say draft the best deck for that seat. Because there's going to be, ideally there's going to be lots of strong decks at that table. And it's just like, if you can find whatever the best one for you is. I think for me, the hard part's going to be if those signals are a little muddy and hard to read. That might make me a little tilted, trying to bounce around, figuring out what I should be picking, and just getting a little frazzled because we don't know where exactly we're supposed to be sitting, and then we end up on a subpar deck. And
this might be too big. So you say play your seat, play your play what's happening there. Is there a seat for everybody? Like if you're sitting in like if you draft optimally, is there 100% like a hero that will be open to you because that's how the game is, like the mechanics of draft is formatted? Or is there real potential to just get the shit end of the stick depending on where you're sitting?
It's going to depend on the pod. Some people are akin to hate drafting, others aren't. Some people are really good at reading signals, and they know when they can make a pick that's like when there's nothing good for them in that pack, but there's maybe a strong thing for something else. They can, pick those things off and try to have the stronger deck than anybody else in comparison. So it's going to depend on really who's in the pod and what everybody's individual draft strategies is. I think ideally, there's a reason why we draft in pods of 8, and LSS has designed the game around, a box being able to, feed an entire draft pod, support. There we go. That's a better word. Support an entire draft pod. And I think in a perfect world, there is support for everyone at the table, but then it comes down, that's Magical Christmas Land. Outside of Magical Christmas Land, you have to consider everybody's individual draft strategies and the RNG of how some packs can be stacked and others can be a little weak, and where everybody's sitting, and there's so many factors there that it is very possible for sure for someone to have a hot garbage draft, and I pray it's not me.
The old heart garbage poop grouped draft. Fair.
No, poop in a group's a good thing.
Poop in a group, I suppose. I want to go down this rabbit hole, but I will not. All right, that is so. Best of luck to you. We'll have to figure out what we're doing. We just committed to a weekly, a renewed weekly commitment, and you are in fact flying out next Tuesday. So
maybe we can do something like we can record on the Monday, and then I can edit it while I'm flying and upload when we land.
We will make it work.
We'll make something happen. We'll stick to this commitment. We'll make it happen.
Excellent. All right, let's move on to the news. 3 pieces of news happening this week. This weekend we wrapped up This week we wrapped up Battle Hardened Portland, a classic constructed Battle Hardened event that featured not 1, not 2, not 3, maybe 3. 1, 2, 3. It did in fact feature 3 Prisms in the top 8, and also a Viserai, a Dash, a Bravo Showstopper, an Oldham, and a Dramai Ash Artist. And wouldn't you know it, when all the marbles were on the line and all the stars aligned for Prism to finally get over the top on Living Legend points, Viserai comes in and takes first place.
This is like Starvo all over again.
First place went to Dexter Canright on Viserai Rune Blood, winning the whole thing. But yeah, 3 Prism players in the top 8 couldn't quite do it. But very, very exciting. Did you happen to catch any of the Battle Hardened?
Unfortunately, I missed this one.
There was a few very spicy. So it was streamed on Twitch by the Attack Action pod guys. They did the play-by-play. So Isaac, Colin, and Taylor, they had done the previous Battle Hardened at LA. They did Battle Hardened LA not too long ago. So same group, same setup. Remote this time. They were not in person, but they were catching the stream. Friend of the combat chain, Yuki Lee Bender, was on stream playing Viserai. Unfortunately, that match ended in a draw against Dramai Ash Artist. It was a very interesting match that went to time there. But I want to bring up that the second round match featured on stream. On one side was Prism, Sculptor of Light. On the other side was KO, Berserker Runt.
I did hear about the KO.
Both decks 1-0 going into the second round. So KO either got a bye or got one over on somebody else. And I'll tell you what, with the amount of Prisms that were there, solid meta call. I don't know. It was working. I didn't catch the full name of the KO pilot, but his name is Travis. I don't have a deck list. I want to know what was in that deck. I'm pretty sure outside of Blood Rush Bellows, it was all at least 6 attacks. But our intrepid hero, I think, was also pretty new to Flesh and Blood as a game. I don't think he had faced Prism before, so you could see on stream there was some explanations of what Spectro was. He was rolling the die into Arclight Sentinel, getting 6 and being super happy about it, but slight deflation when the Sentinel goes away and he doesn't do any damage. But kept the life totals respectable, had Findel's Fighting Spirit, both the reds and yellows, which if you're at less life than your opponent, if you attack or defend with Findel's Fighting Spirit, you gain a life.
Yep.
Had a Heart of Findel. Arcanite Skullcap was activated from Jump Street. He was popping Phantasm every turn. He was clearing out auras, maybe not optimally, but he was doing it. and Prism got down to single digits. I'm pretty certain it was not. It was not outside the realm that KO could have taken that if the lines of play. I really needed some coaching. It could have been real close, but left to his own devices, it was all for naught. But man, there was a whole community rooting for a young hero on that stream. I tell you what. So hats off to Travis, the KO pilot, wherever you are. Respect. That's the battle hard in Portland. Elsewhere in the news, it was recently brought to LSS's attention by recent guest of the pod, Tyler Broughton, that it was recently brought to the attention of LSS through Twitter by friend of the channel, Tyler Broughton, that a win in a ProQuest Season 1 event was improperly credited to Starvo when a Prism actually won that event. It was verified that person did, in fact, win with Prism. But the implication there is that Prism would have earned Living Legend points by this latest banned and restricted announcement and would have been moved to Living Legend before Pro Tour Lil.
This is spicy.
I suppose I think no matter what, we were going to get Prism and Pro Tour Lil.
Yeah, I think it's too late for LSS to go and fix it now.
I think if they knew, what would be really interesting is if Prism had hit LL, would they have made the ban announcement for Stubby Hammers if Prism hit LL at that time, or would they wait for the scheduled August 30th announcement? Right, in the world Prism made it, Stubbies was an unannounced banned and suspended announcement, right? Would they have been obligated to Living Legend Prism at that point?
Yes, because it just automatically, if she's at...
Right. Would they have banned Stubby Hammers if Prism was going to get LL'd at that same day?
I still think so, because either way, Stubbies was a problem.
Right. Yeah, but would it be? I guess what I'm saying is, right? They had an unannounced band announcement. Would they have gone through with an unannounced surprise band announcement if it was tied to a Living Legend announcement as well?
I still think they would.
By their own rules, they would have had to initiate it immediately, right? And then your recent battle hardens and coming into Pro Tour would be a completely different landscape. All that being said, is I think it's very interesting because there's a couple things that they could do. The fact that it happened in the first place is interesting in itself. And there's always going to be room for error, but when you get to, there's 998 Living Legend points. We're missing 2 points. Someone found the margin of error, right? And could correct it right now. What is the course of action that happens now?
I mean, the most likely reality is that Prism's around for Pro Tour, and even if LSS can get down to the nitty gritty and figure this out before August 30th, we won't see anything before August 30th. I don't think so. If they wouldn't do it for Starvo, I don't think they'll do it for Prism.
Yeah, and especially right now, I don't think they'll cut out. They would not do it right now.
I think if to go back to your point, had it come down to this occurring right around the Stubbies ban, emergency BNR, if they could figure out the math in time and in fact confirm whether Prism is LL or not, I think they would have done it for then. But okay. now that we're this close to to Pro Tour, I don't think it happens.
That's fair. But it is very interesting. I don't think there's anybody else that's close enough to raise an eyebrow. But it makes you wonder, and it makes you wonder how will they acknowledge it? If I were them, I would simply say that I wouldn't give the points. I guess this is what I would do. I would just wait till something happens. I don't know if it's a good look for them to be like, you're right. Whoops, there's 2 more we got there. But we'll see how they do.
I mean, good look or not, if the points are there, the points are there, aren't they?
Yeah. Yep. But it'll be interesting to see if like, oh, you know what, this was properly accounted for on the back end. The number is right. It just doesn't appear to be so because is the number wrong, or is the name on the leaderboard or the honor roll?
Oh, yeah, that's a good point as well.
So is it right? So there's a little more to it than strictly LSS got the number wrong. That has to be verified. Yes, that Prism did win that event. But are we saying that we are missing living legend points for that Prism, or was that a properly accounted for and someone just moved the player to the wrong wrong
they messed it up on the Excel sheet or something like that.
Someone just moved 2 guys over instead of 1, and has caused a kerfluffle. But yeah, so it'll be interesting to see how that kind of shakes out. The implication here is that, right, if no action is taken and Prism does not win an event before or by the end of Pro Tour Lille, and I believe that there will still be a Battle Hardened in Lille where it can happen. There's a Battle Hardened, a Calling, a Pro Tour, and there's a Battle Hardened Singapore. There's a few things here that Prism can still win. So if Prism doesn't win any of those things, as it stands right now, Prism will be in the meta for national season. So does LSS give the points and say Prism is done, the meta changes for nationals? Or
if the points are there, if the math adds up and it turns out she's supposed to be LL, I certainly hope they do.
Yeah. Agreed. It'll definitely make things interesting to watch in the event Prism misses, right? If Prism wins something, this is all a moot point. It happens anyways. It'll to see how they handle a situation where, and for what it's worth, Prism's not in a great spot right now. It doesn't seem like it. Prism is middle of the road, but it definitely has some bad matchups. It has some good matchups, but it doesn't have. I do not know if I would put it in S tier right now.
Not like it had at one point.
No, it is not as dominant as it once was. So after that, LSS announced got down to the nitty gritty here for World Championship weekend in November in San Jose, and a little bit of controversy, which we'll get. It'll bring us to our main topic today. Once we'll bring it up a little bit here first, but they gave the quick details of the World Championship. It starts on Thursday with World Championship player reception. So similar to what they did at Pro Tour New Jersey. Who knows? They'll likely have another kind of banquet set up that's nice for the World Championship players. Friday is day 1 of Worlds, and it will have draft starting rounds 1 through 3, and it'll have classic constructed rounds 4 through 8. Day 2, Saturday, we'll have draft rounds. You'll have 2 rounds of draft, rounds 9 through 11, and then World's Blitz rounds 12 through 16 is also the start of calling San Jose day 1. Sunday will be World's top 8, calling San Jose day 2 plus top 8 and Battle Hardened San Jose. So a lot of different games and playing happening on Sunday. They did release the eligibility for the World Championship as well. So who gets in, right? This has been a burning question since Worlds was announced, right? That the prospect of Worlds was even a thing. Who gets in? How do you get in? Flesh and Blood World Championship is an invitation-only event. All players need to pre-register for the event. Players can qualify for the World Championship in the following ways. The first, ratings-based invitations will be issued based on standings as of Monday, September 26th at 11:59 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time, directly following the end of the National Championship season, with the exception of German and Singaporean players who will receive ratings-based invitations based on their standings as of Monday, October 1st at 11:59 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. World Championship invitations will be offered to players ranked in the top 50 on the global leaderboards for Lifetime XP, 90-day XP, Constructed ELO, and Limited ELO. Adam, congratulations, my friend. You're in.
Well, I don't know if I'm like a shoo-in at this point. I think as of today, I'm in 44th place for Lifetime XP.
Oh, there's a bit of a fight going on there.
Yeah, between 40... I think it's between like 40th and 50th place. The spread's less than 100 points.
Okay.
Then the spread to like... It's actually kind of interesting because the spread then, like, the incremental increase in like XP is quite low all the way up to, what is it, about 8th place on the board. Like each player has maybe 10, 15, 20 XP on the preceding player, if that.
Okay.
Like all throughout that, and then all the way down to 50th, like it's less than 100 points. Yeah, it's tight. So we're grinding hard right now. I'm grinding hard right now to try to ensure that invite. I would very much like to attend the first Worlds.
Sure, you get there. I mean, I feel like especially Lifetime XP is more about the body of work than anything else. And as long as you're continuing just doing the things that you do, and you're maintaining your status there. The 90-day XP is gonna be crazy, because there are people that will just spike this as hard as they can. Looking at the rankings right now, the top player in 90-day global, I'm gonna butcher their names, but they are from the US.
Good luck with that one.
Take Voskerchain.
That's pretty good.
I'm gonna try. But they are at 764. Young hero Brody Spurlock is number 2 with 748. I believe that's the 16-year-old.
Yeah.
He's making waves. James Silver, previous leader, had, I think at one point, had something like 900 XP on the 90-day. Just something insane. But he's done every ProQuest RTN. He got 54th in top 50 something in Pro Tour New Jersey. He's very prolific. He's in the New England area. So I see his results firsthand a lot of the time. Matt W, friend of the channel. Matt W is number 4. But they are, I'm not going to read down the whole list. I just got distracted by those names. But number 50 is 470, which is a much more palatable number for those who are wondering if their goals of getting into 50 top 50 global 90-day is realistic. I do expect those numbers to increase by about 200 by the time cutoff for U.S. Nationals comes by. So I do not think that 470 is going to be the number that gets you into top 50. No. I think that'll be 670 maybe.
And that's saying something, because even like maintaining 470 on 90 day is not easy at this point. That's a lot of grinding.
No, It is. Yeah, it is. It is super grindy. And I can attest. I mean, there was just like so. I got into US Nats through XP, but I didn't even get to top 100 US. I was at like 150 something, I think, by the time the cutoffs happened, and so I was like three something, and felt like I went pretty hard. I did end up missing like a couple events and just couldn't make up for it. Like the Fighters Guild didn't fire a couple weeks, and that's I was doing the math, and that was like 27 potential XP taken out of the equation for the grind. Obviously you have to go 9-0 to get all 27, but even whatever portion of that is off the table when something like that happens. But still, going to 3 or 4 armory events a week is it's a tall order. So a lot of the 90-day leaders here are regulars at we just wrapped up RTN season. We're in the middle of skirmish season, and we had ProQuest season just before that. I believe all 3 of those types of events award 6 XP per, right? So it's not necessarily your armory experience that's going to take you over the top, though that is one way to do that. But if you are consistently showing up to these step above events, this is how you're being rewarded. So maybe you're not getting your sealed gold foil in a PTI off the bat, but if you got top 4 in 4 RTNs, you're being rewarded in other ways, and this is it by showcasing your talents and giving you a chance to qualify for Worlds here. That's my takeaway from that, because you realistically, I don't think armories are going to get you there. So if you're attending the higher tier events, I think that's if you're consistent with those, I think it takes away the stigma of the armory grinder trying hard. They are still going to be there, but I don't think that's your roadmap to Worlds right now.
Yeah.
Like I don't think I can, like, I'm realistic about not qualifying for Worlds through XP. Like I don't think it's gonna happen. Even if I hit 4, if I was doing 4 armory events a week, I don't think I'd come anywhere close to that.
Yeah, I think like grinding to that level is like you're playing every day, and some people are finding ways to play like even 2 times per day somehow.
Yeah, it gets pretty crazy, and so. Back this time last year, it was much more accessible online, right? And that's how a lot of right. You could grind online up to twice a day, 6-7 days a week. You had to have a weird sleep schedule, because you would do basically a European armory, or you'd go on one side of the hemisphere, and then you'd play from the other side of the hemisphere. Now, whether that's, you'd play an Australian zone armory that was online, and then a U.S. armory online. You could play a European-based one in the middle of the day. You can play a Hong Kong-based one at 3 a.m. You could do these things and pick and choose which ones you want, and they all kind of catered to that, right? Let's do 6 rounds of Blitz every day for 7 days. That's 42 rounds. In the hypothetical world there, that's 42 times 3, 140 something XP available if you ran the table on a week, which some of these Kelvin Law in Hong Kong running Kano and such in Kano's prime would just, right, that's how he would just dunk it and get the job done.
Yeah, and I should highlight that what I just said was like that was back in the in the online days. Like the reality of playing every day, twice a day, it probably isn't as realistic anymore.
And it's definitely something I think people need to consider. Like the grind, the grind that people disliked and have griped about, right? That you hear a bunch of high level competitors saying that XP and grinding these things aren't the good way to do that. It's not possible. It's just not. It's not there anymore. So, in order to get up there, you still have to put in. You have to consistently show up, but you also have to do. You have to do the extra. You have to go to these bigger events and still succeed.
Yeah.
And I think that's realistically the only way you're getting up top here. And I think that's shown if you look at the names in the global. I think it shows that because you have Yuki is 43, Xiao Fang is 44, Namvo 38, Alex Vor 33, Florin Christian Login 29, Matt Dilks 19. Pat Weiss is 16. So like these are big names and competitors that are going to these bigger events anyways, and doing and putting up respectable numbers. That's how they're getting there. All right, continuing on. So that's your XP, and now constructed ELO and limited ELO. Hey everybody, your ELO matters. So if you're top 50 constructed or limited ELO, you're in. You've got your you'll get your qualification, and I think that's basically you have Pro Tour Lille really to solidify your spots, and then
Nationals falls within as well.
Yeah, but is it rated at a similar level?
Nationals is a 32K.
Don't do this to me. How does that compare to Pro Tour?
Pro Tour is 64K. So like the weight of the ELO at Pro Tour is double what it is at Nationals.
Fair enough.
But the ELO from Nationals is still pretty. It's weighted pretty heavily.
That is substantial.
Yeah.
But you only have at this point, realistically, ELO wise, you have a Pro Tour. You may have some battle hardens, but those are lesser than the Nationals, I believe, and then Nationals. So you only have 2, maybe 3 max events before Worlds is what I'm getting at to qualify there.
Yes.
So, again, that there's people that are regulars at these high level events that will get what they've earned through consistent good performance. You likely already have to be close to somewhere in there in order to. I don't know how the rating system works. We know this, but I don't know how far down you can be. Like if you were at 0 and just spike Pro Tour Lille, which is a mixed format Pro Tour as well. Like I don't know if you can get to top 10 from nowhere if you win Pro Tour Lille. It would be nice if you could, I guess, but realistically, could you?
That's a question I can't answer either because we're
right.
That's
very curious.
That involves like math, like all this complex math, and like
terrible. I don't want to do that.
I would venture a guess that like if you were somehow in like last place on ELO, even spiking. I don't know. Because that, like,
I would
for
feel
example,
better if it was all classic constructed. I think if it was a single format, maybe if it was at the max.
Like for me, dropping 4 games at Pro Tour Jersey, I lost 100 ELO. Which
I don't know if that's a
lot of
significant.
ELO. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
And when you consider that like everybody starts at like 1,500. And then if we look at the top of let's go look at the top of the constructed leaderboard. We see, the spread 1850. Pablo Pintor's at 1850. He's number 1.
Makes sense. Won the Pro Tour.
So spiking, he won 350 ELO off of spiking Pro Tour.
Gross. That's actually less than I thought it would be. But I guess 1850 from 1500? I guess not. Why is it going to start at 1,500?
That's just like, that's the even number everybody starts at.
Killing me with these.
And I would imagine that Pablo Pintor's elo was probably fairly close to 1,500 prior to.
Sure, but that's baseline, right?
Yeah.
Oh, it's just interesting. Did he win? Was he at baseline? Did he actually win less than? Because he was. I don't know where he was beforehand. I don't know if we can even do that kind of research there.
Well, maybe only Pablo and LSS can tell us that.
Yeah, fair enough. But those are top 50 elo in Constructed and Limited are ways you will be eligible to get a ratings-based invite into Worlds. Alternatively, you can redeem a PTI, not Pro Tour Lille invitation, right? PTI. So you have to win a Battle Hardened, get a top 8, top 32 in a calling or Pro Tour. And you can also be gifted a PTI. And I think they're running for about $1,000.
Is that the going right now?
I believe so. I still don't know how I feel about that. I am okay with someone with an extra PTI making it worth something to them. I think that's fine. And if someone wants to buy into a Pro Tour one time, and I've gotten some pretty good justifications from some people. Like if the one example that I got is if you have a member of a competitive team that is like the one person that didn't get an invite and everybody else qualified, and for one reason or another it either just didn't happen or wasn't there, but they trust in the quality player that they are, they could potentially transfer a PTI to them to give them to give that person a chance at the Pro Tour. That's it's hallmarky noble cause, but stuff like that does happen, and it makes sense. I don't think there's going to be some grifter in a trench coat walking into Pro Tour Lille going, I got my PTI right here, and throw fake Rolex sleeves down and counterfeit cards and things of that nature, and all of a sudden he's top 8. I don't think that's gonna happen.
No.
And for our main topic tonight is on day 2, the formats that will be played in the World Championships. Uprising Draft will be played for 2 rounds, 9 through 11, and then Blitz Constructed will be played rounds 12 through 16. The last 5 rounds of Swiss will be played through Blitz, and potentially your top 8 decided in a format that is very polarizing in the community as of late, with a lot of people saying that Blitz should not be considered a competitive format, and that it is not okay to be having to play Blitz in such a high level event as World. And we're going to talk about Blitz and how or if it fits in Worlds. What do you say?
Like my immediate knee-jerk reaction is to say yes, it does belong. I think LSS has made it very clear that Blitz is one of their major supported formats, and they want Blitz to be recognized as such. And based off of that, I think if you want to play this game at that level, if you want to go to Worlds, you want to compete, you want to try to win that big show, you have to be ready to play the game the way LSS intends. LSS wants you to be a well-rounded player. They want you to be good at Limited. They want you to be good at Constructed. They want you to be good at all the facets of Constructed, all the facets of Limited. Like, they don't want somebody to just show up and be a one-trick pony and be able to win. So yeah, no, I think on the surface, Blitz in Worlds is fine. Now, I think the one thing, the caveat to all that is, what work is LSS putting in to make Blitz worthy to be a competitive format? And the reason I'm highlighting this way is we've seen in the past little bit that some of LSS's testing parameters aren't necessarily as balanced as we would necessarily like them to be. The big example is, coming out of Jersey when Pro Tour Jersey, when James White confirmed that Starvo was tested amongst Seeds Chain and Unarired Plunder Run Briar.
I want to be in that meta, by the way. If I could, I would love to be just a fly on that wall and play some of those games.
Well, hey, you know what? Side note, we could totally do some video series.
Yeah. Yep, I'm down for that.
So with that being said, like, Starvo got then released in a world where all of his nemesis. Is it Nemesi for sure?
I don't know. It might be.
We're going with Nemesi, the plural of nemesis, or is it just nemesis?
I think it's honestly, I think it's Nemesi, but I'm not.
Nemesi sounds like
say whatever
a
you
villain on like some kid's TV show. Like, I am Nemesi.
100% does. Oh man.
Yeah, so like I guess my question for LSS, if they're going to push Blitz this hard, is what are they doing to ensure that their testing moving forward is going to be ironclad for Blitz? Because like we saw for a bit there, Blitz was a Viserai train wreck of Rune Chants and Revel and Rune Bloods, and whoever could get the first, it was like turn 1, turn 2 kills. Like, that is not a competitive environment in my opinion. Blitz, I think, has gotten a lot better since then. Blitz is not the turn 2 slugfest anymore. Like, we are seeing games go to turn 3, 4, 5 again. You still get an aggro matchup that goes to turn 3 maybe, but it's not everybody's on that deck, and there are ways to play around it now. I think Blitz does require you to approach it from a different standpoint than Constructed does, and that's fine. And if that's if at the end of the day that's what people's gripe is that they just can't pick up Blitz and play it the same way they play Constructed, then that gripe is invalid. If the gripe is LSS isn't doing what they should be doing to test the format and make sure it's ready for that level of competitiveness, that is a valid argument. So I think LSS just has to in turn kind of prove to us that every format that they intend to be competitive is going to be like balanced within its respects.
So there's been a lot of different perspectives in terms of what that might mean. I've seen a few. So it does seem like if you go to like the highest levels of competitor, you get to some of these CC purists, right? The ones who will say outright, like they'll play a skirmish and ask, what do I play? I am putting no effort into Blitz. It is not a real format. I am just going to throw down 40 cards and scoff at people who take this seriously, right? You get those people out there. Now, what is the stigma behind Blitz? Why don't CC competitors like it?
There is, in a high-level Blitz game, there is no room for error whatsoever. Like in CC, you have a little bit of wiggle room. You have 40 life, and even at this point, 40 life isn't what it used to be with some of the aggro decks we're seeing in Blitz or in CC now. So, like, Blitz is just, there's no room for error. But then beyond that, like, there is an element where Blitz has been very, like, for as long as I've played this game, I've heard people argue that Blitz is just coin flippy, and sometimes you get aggroed out of a match that you had no agency in. And I think that in part is people's gripe.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I disagree that, like, I mean, don't get me wrong. Yes, Blitz, you only have 20 life. You're playing with the same cards at the same power level as they are in CC. Sure, you only have 2 copies instead of 3, but it's still the same power level. Like, if you can string, like, for example, Viscerai is not in Blitz anymore, but to look at, you know, if you could string together a Mordred into Revel turn, that's like their entire, you know, your opponent's entire life total.
Yeah, absolutely, right. Viscerai and Blitz, and admittedly, it was a problem, right? So Viscerai in Blitz could turn 0, deal 30 plus damage to you in a turn, right? With 20 plus of that being unblockable, or, you know, it'd be arcane damage. And between your equipment and cards in hand, right, you may have 16-ish, right, block. So if you're at 35 plus, and they block all 16, and you're still coming through with another, you know, right, 20 on top of that, that's game over, and you didn't do anything. Which is in fact problematic, right? We don't want games to go that fast. But to your point that you had made a couple minutes ago, right? There are people who, right? How are they approaching Blitz in general? If they're approaching it with this with a mindset of if I can't go 6 turns in pitch stack, right, it's not real to me. I think that's kind of that might be what's leading them down this path of Blitz is not great. Blitz is fast. I think Blitz is meant to be fast on purpose.
It's called Blitz.
Yeah, it's called Blitz, right? You are going to play at max a half-hour match. It is meant to go 3 to 6 turns. It's just how that goes with the short life totals. In my eyes, it's the pivot. It's the pivot game, right? It is the Blitz is meant to. Blitz as a format to me is the format where whoever can pivot the best, most efficiently will win. And it rewards deck building and equipment choice to help you pivot. And the sooner that you can pivot and grab that tempo, the sooner you can win that game. This can happen as early as turn 1 and 2, and the game can finish out in 3 and 4. But it still takes, for the most part, it still takes skill in gameplay and deck building to get you to that efficiency.
Yeah, 100%. And like to like, I've always kind of viewed Blitz from this view that Blitz rewards, like, you kind of say people who can pivot efficiently. I've always thought people who can block efficiently. I think in a lot of respects that's effectively one and the same, but it's knowing when can I block? Do I need to block? How do I block? How can I get the most value out of my cards? And I think people, some people's frustrations is even sometimes that's not enough, but the reality is high rolling happens in all formats as well.
Correct. Yep.
Yeah, it feels bad when it happens to you. I know I've been on the receiving end of high rolls many times, and it doesn't feel good. But that can happen anywhere. Like when you boil it down, like the majority of games aren't being played out that way. I think it's just people remember those games as well.
Yeah, definitely. They stick with you, right? Flesh and Blood is still going to have these one card win cons, and they are effective in CC and they're effective in Blitz. We're looking at, right, Blood Rush Bellows, Art of War, Channel Mount Heroic. It was Mordred Tide, right? These cards still exist and enable these power turns that would win games in CC and would win games in Blitz as well. I don't know if are those cards and decks actually problematic in your opinion right now? So let's look at what might be considered the top of the meta, right? The top of the meta for me right now is Icelander as best deck in format, right? Not very fast in my eyes. I do believe Oldhim is up there as well. Again, not very fast. And I think Kasai fits right in there with the top three. And Kasai might be the most aggressive of those three, but still, I would give it mid-range at best. But none of those are one-turn kill aggro decks.
No, and Fi has the potential to get close to that. I think with Art of War, like, can get there. Like, if you can have a gnarly Art of War turn, but yeah, you're right. Like, the Blitz where it's at now is not where it was some time ago.
Yeah, and it does. So I think there's a kind of it's a conflicting view between the perception of the format with the reality of the meta, right? So if we look at the top, right, you have the things that slow the meta down, right? You have these decks that enable these 6 to 10 turn games, these second cycle pitches. I'm on Oldhim for Blitz right now. Like I'm an Oldhim main for skirmish season. I'm slowing things down, and I feel like I'm doing things effectively. And there's not 100% matchups into some of these decks. Like the Oldhim into Dash is pretty one-sided, but you have to get down like a tier into this A tier where you get all these aggro decks, and I think that's where the problems of the format really come into the forefront. Is the aggro deck matchup, aggro versus aggro, does feel very coin flippy because it is still a pivot right block efficient format, and the decks are out aggressing the game's ability to provide a defense to the offenses that it's providing. And we can use Fi as an example here. In fact, we can go back to our own video of Fi versus Dash to see the potential speed, the small margin of error, and perhaps the problematic nature that some of the people are complaining about be showcased in that video, right? Where we have Dash versus Fi, two similarly tiered aggressive decks. I don't know if it was caught in there, but both of us were concerned about the dice roll, and I believe I got second. So I wanted tempo on that because I understood how much that meant to me. You as Dash still have a great ability to really hurt me on turn 0. But that game came down to, could you present lethal to me when you had the opportunity to, not if I blocked efficiently enough to survive, and then my turn I could grab tempo and attack you back. And when we talk about how small our margin of error is, you had a chance to still win until you drew 2 Teklo cores.
Yeah. In
the game that there was no room for you to draw those 2 Teklo cores in order to function, to win, right? You couldn't, there was no room for that. And when that happened, that was the game. But you still had that game, right? You game in hand without if you drew anything else other than double Teklo core. But yeah. I think you can insert you could do Briar, Chain, Dash, Fi. I would put Rhinar in there. still. But I think you could, I guess, like if you take out the Art of Wars and stuff, Reinhardt becomes a little less combo-y and more mid-rangey. But it still has the ability to, right? It still has the ability to really hit hard and heavy. And that's kind of the point, right? Is that A tier, they call it's coin flippy because whoever wins the dice roll is going to choose to go second because they can get tempo first, and we can deal 20 plus damage a turn, even on a 4-card hand, without a bunch of setup, and that will force you to block with not only your equipment but cards in hand. If you are forced to block with cards in hand, there's not enough time in the game to get back in most circumstances.
Yeah.
And that's a problem. If you see it as a problem, right? If you're building, like, some people can see it as the deck working the way that it needs to work, right? But if the game is finished in one turn cycle, that's not very healthy. So it's still it's probably best for it to go at least one more turn cycle in order to make you feel like you played a game.
Yeah. And like all this defending we're doing of Blitz right now, like I won't lie, like I do wish Blitz was a slightly more drawn out format even myself. I think there's a lot of room for it to improve as a format. Mm-hmm. But it's to point out that Blitz isn't constructed, and if you're looking to if you're looking to approach constructed or Blitz the same way you're looking to approach constructed right off the bat, it's I think it's the wrong mindset. You need to be able to approach it from the aspect of it's a different format, and I need to be prepared to play to whatever it takes to play in that format, just like you do in draft and in sealed, and not everyone's gonna like every format equally, and that's fine too. But I think the hate on the hate on Blitz is definitely a little excessive because it isn't a problem format by any means. Not at this point anymore.
I agree. There have been calls for kind of group banning of cards, and LSS has stated in Fab 2.0 when they announced the preemptive ban for stubbies and the suspension of the wizard cards and a few other things that were done in Blitz, that they would ban frequently to keep the format fresh. There have been some calls for some I guess popular cards to kind of point the finger at, namely, right, like Art of War right now, Channel Mount Heroic, and like Blood Rush Bellows. People are calling for those to be banned in order to bring a little more parity to the format. Do you support an effort like that? Do you believe that there needs to be a cap on the damage output in Blitz?
Yes and no. I think like to try to balance out the format and like say, okay, these cards are only for CC is fine, but I think that that's only fine up until a point. Like there are still decks that are able to be disruptive and are designed to slow decks down in Blitz. Mm-hmm. Like those are still possible, and if we take out too many power cards, now it would be the fatigue and the disruption decks, and those would be the ones that would start to rise up. And there you want a mix of like the strong aggro decks and the disruptive decks. But yeah, I think that one's one where they have to tread very carefully because of the fact that, like, you take out Art of War, now does Fi have the tools he needs to beat Oldhim? Probably not.
Right.
But like while Viserai was still around, like we probably could have arguably like something like Sonata could have been on the chopping block. They did eventually deal with with Scalata, and that was fine and that worked. But you could argue that maybe Revel or Sonata were problem cards at the time. So yeah, I don't think it's an easy black and white answer, unfortunately.
Yeah. And Sonata is in fact suspended in Blitz.
That's right. It's still, yeah, you're right.
Yeah. But yes, yes, that's what it is. Sonata specifically, because Plunder Run and Skeleton are not, and that is very confusing when you're building a deck right now. Is that Sonata is suspended, Plunder Run is legal in Blitz, Skeleton is suspended in CC, but not Blitz. So if you're going Rune Blade, it's really tough. So would you consider, like, is Phi or Channel Mount Heroic Briar, are those decks, A, are they problematic for the format, and B, would you feel confident in winning a competitive event with either of those decks at the moment?
I mean, Briar's always gonna struggle with the whole idea of, do you find the Channel Mount Heroic in time? If you do, you probably win. If you don't, you probably lose. And that level of inconsistency makes Briar, I think, a tough choice. Like, can you take Briar and effectively high roll and win the game? 100%. But will it be consistent enough? I don't know. Phi, on the other hand, Phi does seem to be fairly consistent, and maybe there's something. I don't know, though, that we've seen enough Phi in Blitz on a large scale to really know yet that it's it's a problem. Could it be? Potentially. It's on my radar. But it's tough to say exactly.
Do you think being able to crack Blade Hold, Courage of Blade Hold on an empty hand and play a Blood on Her Hands with 6 copper, having blocked out with all your equipment and 4 cards, and still attack with attack 4, is that 20 over 4 hits, 16 minimum, over 4 hits with Blood on Her Hands? Is that okay?
I think that one's more okay, because it still takes a lot of work to get to that point. Like, you need to have 6 coppers, right? Like, if you let your Kasai opponent get to 6 coppers, you probably aren't in a good spot to begin with.
Yep. And they can't really get there that fast unless I think they have to skirmish and Spoils of War and go unblocked, basically. And I think you can get your coppers in 1 or 2 turns. But it doesn't happen too quick. But right, like Kasai's strength is its 2 card hands, right? It does Ira better than Ira does at this point. But it's not known for, like, its overt aggression. I bring up the top 3 decks because Kasai's the 2 card hand deck. Oldhim is your super defensive deck. Oldhim can fatigue people in Blitz, right? That's not it's not terribly fast, and it doesn't. Its strength is in its defense and its ability to disrupt. Icelander is not a very fast deck in itself. It taxes, and it disrupts your opponent's game plan. It does seem like, right, if you're identifying decks as problematic, some of these have been tuned to be like super glass cannons, but it's not necessarily the correct way to build them, I think, right now. Like, I don't know if you can put in like Lightning Briar. I know Tarek just took Battleheart in Toronto, I believe, was Blitz, and he brought it like a Lightning Briar into the top 8. But I think that's kind of the exception to the rule. I don't think you can build a kind of a, I don't know, a railgun of a deck that just fires off and wins. I think variance gets you, and there are tools out there right now that will help your opponent stop you from doing that, whether that's pummel or a frostbite, or anything along those, or just good efficient blocking, or the ability to block more than you'd like, whether even with just classic defense reactions, or something like Oasis Respite right now, which is an insane card, and it goes well into so many things. I play it in Oldham. And the number of nourishing emptinesses I've stopped from Icelander by playing by blocking with a Crown of Providence and following up with a Oasis Respite, and just them kind of sighing disappointedly is, it's a nice feeling. But I think Blitz is, I think at the end of the day, Blitz is a viable World Championship format. I think in order to be successful in Blitz right now, you have to build a deck that is both disruptive and effective at efficient blocking. And I don't think you can get there with a purely aggressive deck. You can high roll and get there on an aggressive deck, but I do believe your chances are lower with I love Briar. I love Briar. Like if you pick Briar, then I don't think you have a legit shot of going 5-0 in the last rounds of Swiss. I think you have a better shot right now as Oldham or Icelander or Bravo. Right now is where I would go for best decks in the format. I think Bravo's just kind of hidden right now, but I do think a defensive build for Bravo is probably one of the best decks you can probably build right now.
Yeah, I think those are definitely good picks for sure. And I think you did mention Icelander. You didn't mention Kano though.
I think Kano's in a tough spot right now. That's why I didn't mention it. I actually have not seen. I haven't seen a single Kano player not named Vor playing in Blitz in some time.
I think Kano in Blitz is still a lot stronger than people give it credit for. Not having Snapback is certainly the Stir Fort combo is cute and works. But Snapback, I think, was probably the bigger the bigger thing. But like right now with having access to Wildfire, it's a one-trick pony way to get the job done. But I think between just the might that Kano kind of always has to begin with with any skilled pilots, and then on top of that having Wildfire as your fallback, I think Kano still is low-key a good deck, but it comes down to the pilot. That's the thing with Kano. Kano even more so than Icelander. And I do think that in an Icelander heavy, this is my hot take, I think in an Icelander heavy meta, Kano does falter. So I think, that is playing some of a factor as well, though I've talked to people who they think the opposite. They think Kano is favored. So it's tough to say. But I do think Kano still gets an honorable mention.
I have the take that I've heard, and I obviously am not a Wizard player, but so I don't know where this falls, but I've heard that Icelander does just straight up does Wizard better in Blitz right now than Kano does. So the Wizard players are on Icelander at the moment.
Yeah, and
But
there's something to be said about starting at 3 extra health with like how low the life thresholds are in Blitz.
yep.
Like starting at 3 extra health and still being able to do everything for the most part just as well as Kano can. Like you can still set up really big out of nowhere turns. You've still got Storm Striders for that kill shot. I think I agree. I think Iyslander is, if you want to play Wizard in Blitz right now, Iyslander is the deck to be on for sure.
And more just to shit on Kano just a little more. I think Iyslander Blue Heavy has AB4, I think, in the Wizard matchup. I could be wrong, but I believe it's pretty close to AB4 or 5. Oldham AB4 or 5, heavy blue deck. Kasai has an iffy Kano matchup, but then you get into the quote unquote the field, right? And I think Kano can eat the lunches of those, right? I bring up Fi again. Fi runs maybe 10 blues and can Arcane Barrier 3, but it's not great, and you really don't want to. But it doesn't necessarily stop. AB3 doesn't necessarily stop Kano from doing Kano things if it's got the Wildfire combo. Anyways, what does stop it is high AB and Oasis. I think if you can Oasis targeting Wildfire, then you're golden. And this is my very long circular way of saying, hey, everybody, play Oasis Respite. If you can't, choose a deck that can, because it'll help you.
It'll do good things for you.
But I think what it comes down to is that, it comes down to a single card, but it's kind of the microcosm, right? Oasis Respite is a card that you can play defensively that disrupts your opponent's game plan in one way or another. And that done efficiently can help win you the game more than poking for 206 times in a row, or some other way of going about things. So, Adam, World's competitor, you know that Blitz is happening, and you want your best chance of going 5-0 in rounds 11 through or 12 through 16. Who are you playing?
Iyslander, probably.
Yeah, right. I think you gotta.
To play
I don't want
Wizard
to.
at Worlds, that to me that sounds like a jolly good time.
That'd be a feather in the cap.
Yeah.
I've chosen, so I'm on Oldham because I have found that its matchup into aggro is good. Like I can beat Fi, but it's Fi. I'm on the fence too because I kind of feel bad about Fi. I'm all in on Fi and Constructed. We know that. I was all in on Fi, but I knew that Oldham was a problem for Fi, so I started practicing with Oldham, and it turns out Oldham's really good into a lot of things. In fact, I would argue everything except Kasai. And it has a bad matchup into Kasai. So if I can dodge her, I feel really good about my other matchups, and that's including Iyslander. I can go AB4 with the Frost Hammer and feel very good about my chances against Iyslander. I still have to play Disciplined, and there's still a chance that she can get over the top on me if she gets multiple Frost Hexes out early enough. But if I can be disruptive and not overextend myself and just clear out the Frostbites or Arcane Barrier when they break in damaging me, then I'm in a pretty good spot. And the deck is built around the ability to pitch right through these arcane effects. So I can block out, right? I can fatigue players. I can do a lot of things, and I can still disrupt players with Oakenold. I go 2-second cycle. I can out fatigue Turtley, Pyras, and things like that. So I feel really good on Oldham. If I were in Worlds, I would likely play Oldham.
Yeah, and I think Oldham's a great choice for Worlds as well.
All right. Well, I think that covers our bases on the card talk. Let's talk about things that aren't card related. What are you up to these days, Adam? What do you do when you're not fleshing and blooding?
You mean there's something more to life than flesh and blood?
Heaven forbid.
I mean, my big thing lately, other than flesh and blood, has been Blood Bowl. I've been jamming games of Blood Bowl 2 on the Xbox, and that keeps me going.
It's a video game? Okay.
Well, it's a board game at its core, but then the board game has been adapted into a video game, which the video game plays entirely like the board game, just on a digital platform. So like, okay. You can, like, one of the really cool things about Blood Bowl is like the whole team management aspect. Like you take on the role of a coach, but also kind of a general manager 2-in-1. And you participate in a league, and you like through.
We call that franchise mode in the Madden world.
Yeah, exactly. Like the entire game takes place within franchise mode, and you have a treasury that you use to like make acquisitions, and you fire players. Like there's so much to the game outside of just like being on the pitch, moving the guy, is making tackles, trying to score touchdowns. And the
pitch.
Yeah, it's not the gridiron, it's the pitch.
All right. This blasphemous game.
Oh, the first thing you have to accept with Blood Bowl is like it is 100% a satire of American football.
Oh, okay. All right.
But it does it in the best possible. Well, I'll have to keep, like, next time I see Blood Bowl on sale on Steam for like $5, I'll get you to buy it and we can play a game.
All right. Down for that.
But yeah, so the digital version just does a good job of like drawing you into like all the league management and that kind of stuff. So I've been really enjoying that lately. And always we're always working on some musical stuff here or there. I've been enjoying picking up the guitar lately and jamming out some metal guitar riffs and just seeing what I can come up with. And of course, being the audio engineer of this duo, I do have like a bunch of fancy software for like guitars and drum emulation and all this different stuff, so I'm able to essentially have like this one-man band setup thing in my I can write entire songs and do essentially a finished product of every instrument right off my computer.
Okay. All right. I like that. I don't know if I shared this with you. I don't have a musical bone in my body, but I have audio engineering is actually in the family. It's a kind of a small world. I think my brother got his degree in music engineering at a college in Boston, but he has his own recording studio in his house, full of professional level gear and all that stuff. I don't touch it, but I can appreciate what you do from an outsider's perspective, an admirer's perspective. I'll say that.
What have you been up to lately, Pat?
Oh, Actually, I started getting into this TV show. You may have heard of it, Stranger Things.
Okay. Like, how far into it are you?
I am 5 episodes into season 1.
Okay. I really enjoyed season 1 of Stranger Things. Like season 1 is
good. I've got questions. Got a lot of questions.
Yeah, and from like one of the things that I don't want to say anything that ruins Stranger Things for you. Like not from like a plot, like a spoiler standpoint, but from like just like I remember when I first watched season 1 of Stranger Things, and like there was a lot of like oh, this is really interesting and different, and what's going to happen next. And I will say that the show does become a little more predictable as it goes on into later seasons. But despite that, like I think season 4 is the most current season. My partner and we watched season 4, and even after like all our gripes were said and done, we're still now going, I wonder what's going to happen in season 5. And like there's some excitement for it still, like even after everything's said and done. So like the show has gumption to keep you coming back.
It's good. It's good. It does. It checks a lot of boxes for me. So I was basically bullied by my wife and kid. My wife binged it straight up in like a couple weeks, and I was getting ready for I was grinding and practicing Flesh and Blood games, and she started it, and she's like, "Sit down and watch." I was like, "Nah." and then she got a couple episodes in. I was like, "Now I can't watch it with you. I don't know what's happening, so I can't watch it now because it'll be spoiled. So I'll just wait until you're done." But now that time has come, so now I'm watching it.
No,
it's very interesting.
Yeah, no, it's for what it's worth. It's a good show, and there's like they have a cool concept for sure. And like I said, season 1 was like awesome. I loved season 1 of Stranger Things.
I don't know what it is. I don't like Matt Modine like as a person, so I seeing him as the Dr. Brenner. I forget what his actual name is in the show, but the doctor of Hawkins Laboratory, the white-haired guy. Yeah, he was in Full Metal Jacket, Dark Knight Rises. He's the lieutenant commissioner in the third Batman movie. Christopher Nolan's Batman trilogy.
Yeah. I'm trying to. I don't even.
Okay, Blake is driving driving him when Bane escapes from Wall Street, and they have to make a choice. Right, everyone's on motorcycles, and Bane's getting away on motorcycles, and then Batman shows up in the wing, right? And then Blake is driving. They got to make a choice to either get the guy on the motorcycle or get Batman. And the guy looks at him and goes, "I'm gonna do what Jim Gordon never did, and I'm gonna get the Batman." That's Matt Modine.
Right.
Same dude.
Yeah. Okay. I completely missed on that. I'm really bad with like names and remembering actors and stuff like that. I'm like, that guy with the face, he was in that movie.
Yeah, the guy, the thing with the face. I get that.
Yeah, for that movie,
I'm a bit of a cinephile.
Thing happened.
No, I'm a lifelong like movie guy. Love movies. I've watched. At one point, I exhausted the Netflix library. I'll say that. I had maxed it out, watched everything that there was to watch.
That's insane.
It was very early on in its inception, but I had done it for at least for that up to that point, and then
that's a fun claim to fame. You'd be like, I at one point watched the entire Netflix catalog.
There's some weird movies.
Oh yeah,
there, but I watched them.
I've gone into the deep dark folds of some Netflix stuff. There's some weird stuff in there.
There is. There's some good stuff. There's some. I love movies. I can talk about movies all day. But there's a couple ones. I will now that just briefly. Now I got to find the name of it. There's an interesting movie that I saw in this run on Netflix. There's a movie. It's very interesting. If you ever get a chance, it is called For Matt's Room. I believe it's Spanish, but I could be wrong. I'm not that great, so I apologize to the filmmaker if you are not in fact Spanish. But 4 mathematicians are invited to solve an enigma. Once there, they're locked in a mechanically shrinking room and given 1 minute to solve each puzzle via cell phone while also figuring out why they're there. So very much like like Clue style invite into a mysterious mansion. Everyone's brought into a room. The host comes out introduces themselves under false pretenses, leaves, everyone's locked in like the main library, and then the walls start coming in. And while the walls are coming in, they realize they're all genius mathematicians, and there's math related life and death puzzles, and the room gets smaller, and it's really fascinating. It's a good one. It was made in 2007 for Matt's Room. Foreign like language math thriller.
Saw, but like Saw
but
meets
made
a
from
beautiful
your
mind.
Yeah, made by your high school algebra teacher.
Yeah, exactly. That's funny.
But yeah,
that's interesting.
So give that a shot on Netflix. I don't know if it's still on Netflix, but it was at the time.
Well, here's the thing: that you have American Netflix. You have good Netflix.
That's true. I hear there's some other stuff that I hear good things about international Netflix, but I no longer have the time to max out what's available. If I could go international, oh man, that would be crazy. I have to quit my job. I'm not going to do that anytime soon. Gotta the podcasting career's got to take off a little.
Yeah.
Before I start doing that. All right, that is enough of humanizing ourselves. I think that will do it for this episode. We do have to do the plugs, so make sure you find us on YouTube at The Combat Chain on YouTube. Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell notification to make sure you see when the podcast episodes and various videos come up on YouTube. You can stream the podcast anywhere you stream your audio podcasts and any of those platforms. You can find us on Twitter. You can find us at The Combat Chain. You can find myself at Pat Smashgood, and you can find Adam at Fomtoolery TCG.
Before we close it out, do we hit him with the new I don't know what you want to call it.
You want to the new bop. You want to bring it home with some stank.
Stank, is that what we're gonna call it?
It makes me want to go. It makes me make this sound. That's a good thing, I'm told, in music when you go. I got a face. People know the face that I'm gonna make when I do. I'm all crinkly. It's like I smelt something bad, but also heard something real good.
And being on the other side of the video cam, like the face, the sound all together, I'm a little unsettled, but I'm glad.
Oh man. Okay. All right. Here we go. Oh, it sounds familiar, doesn't it? But it's a little. Oh, we got some. Oh, it's good stuff. Oh. See? Oh, you can feel that. You want to turn the bass up to like 11, and then the what? I'm telling you what, I'm gonna make this my ringtone. I want to make this my alarm when I wake up in the morning. I want boom. Oh, and there's a little change there. We're going on a journey, everybody. We're going on a journey, a funk journey, a jazz journey. What do you call this? What do you call? What is this genre?
I believe this is trap. Like at its core, trap. It's like a form of electro dance music, EDM.
I'm trapped in the funk. Is what I am.
That sounds like.
Oh, tone change. It's so good. This is going on a journey. This is walking through the Mordor music right now.
All right, Pat.
All right. Okay. Until next week, we're closing the combat chain. Nice.